All right. Hello.
Hello.
Hello. Welcome everyone to Start It's Your Time podcast. We're here today. It's good, good energy, good vibes. It's been a week.
It's been a week. Yes, it's been a week. It's been an exciting week. We have a lot going on.
A lot going on. We started dropping hints on our socials. I've been wanting to spill the beans since day one, but I'm really because you know what? I'm the type of person I cannot keep a surprise. That's me. If I buy JM something, I need to tell him before I even have it in my hands. I
Oh,
cannot keep it a secret. It's so bad.
you're
It's
like my husband. No, no, I like the surprises.
okay.
Like
No,
I'm big on the surprise.
okay. I'm really
You're
trying
struggling.
hard for this one.
Yeah.
But if you're listening to this, it's Monday for our listeners, and we're
Mm.
actually releasing the news on Monday evening. So you don't have a long time to wait if you're listening to this.
But we have a long time.
But we have a long time. Yeah.
And it's gonna be rough, but it's okay. It's okay. It's
It's
all
okay.
good. Yeah.
It's all good.
Yeah.
Okay, so last night in our group coaching for the membership, it's the month of relationships. Where we were at session 3 last night, and we talked about attachment styles. And I think people really enjoyed learning about this because it is such a game changer once you know what your attachment style is.
Yeah.
And once you can figure out what your partner's attachment style is. So let's do a podcast about
Let's
it.
do it. Let's
Yeah.
dive in. Yeah.
Okay, so maybe we'll just go through the different attachment styles, and we'll talk about where it's coming from. And maybe you and I, Paula, can chime in and say about our personal attachment styles,
Yeah.
and the styles of our partners, and how we can navigate through each of the styles. I think what's important to note is that if you have an attachment style that is not, you know, playing in your favor, and you're wanting to change it, you're not born with a specific attachment style. It it happens throughout childhood. You have experiences that shapes you, and then that's kind of how you develop a certain attachment style. And so you can work on it. You can change that attachment style if it's not doing you any favors. I think
Yeah.
it's important to note.
Yeah, the biggest piece is just being self-aware about it. Like being self-aware is going to the more that you know about your attachment style and what
Yeah.
triggers it is going to help you change it.
Yes, and the goal would be for anyone listening, at the end of this podcast, you will know what your attachment style is, and you'll have a better understanding on how to work through it.
Exactly.
Cool. So there's 4. The first one is secure attachment. So basically, secure attachment is when you feel comfortable with intimacy and being independent. You're finding it very easy to give love and receive love. You have no problems expressing your needs. You have no issues in being vulnerable, in expressing your emotions, and you just overall feel very grounded in yourself and your relationship.
Yeah. You're secure. It's exactly
You're
what it
secure.
describes. Like you are secure in yourself and
Feel
your
secure.
relationships. Yeah.
And obviously secure attachment is the goal. So
Yeah.
if we go through this and you're oh, I'm not a secure attachment style, that's where we want to get you. So usually secure attached people, in childhood, what they have in their household is a very loving, present parents. They feel safe to cry. Their parents are really supporting, sharing your emotions, expressing your emotions. They are letting you really navigate that roller coaster of life, and they're really present for you, giving you that space to be yourself. And it's very consistent. I think that's the key, is what you're seeing in terms of like love and interactions between your parents and between you and your parents is really being consistent, and it's really you really feel safe to
Yeah.
express your emotions.
I think it's really like from a parent's perspective, it's really the goal in how we want our children to grow up, essentially,
Hmm.
right? Like we want our kids to feel that they are always safe, that they
Yeah.
are okay being alone, like you said, like independent, but they're also have really they're free to be vulnerable, they're
Mm.
free to have boundaries, right? Like
Yeah.
all of those things. Like it's something that as a parent, it's I think the goal for us
Yeah.
with our children. Yeah.
Yeah. No, exactly.
Mhm.
So if this is not who you are, if you don't recognize yourself into the secure attachment style, then the second one is the anxious attachment. So anxious attachment is when you really crave closeness, but you constantly need to be reassured. You constantly need validation from your partner that you are loved, I'm here to stay, like I'm not going to leave you, like you truly fear being abandoned, essentially. Like it's just you don't feel secure in your relationship, like you feel very much insecure in your love.
Yeah. And even like this, I find all of these attachment styles, like they're not just pertaining to relationships. So, like,
Mm,
if you're the
mhm.
type of person who is, when you're done hanging out with your friends, like you go home and you're like, are they mad at me? Right? Like you're that person who's like really going over everything in your mind,
Yes,
replaying it all the different
yes.
interactions, and if somebody like sends you a text message and like they don't have like 20 explanation points at the end of it, you're like, oh, they're mad,
Oh
right?
my
Like
God.
it's that anxiousness and just that
Yeah.
like fear around like people being upset with you, leaving you, wanting to leave you, like all of that. It's not just around romantic relationships, but you can definitely see it in romantic relationships when people are feeling like,
Mm,
like, how come you didn't pick up right when I called you? Or,
yeah.
I know you don't want to be here. I know you want to go with your friends. Like, just constant doubt, constant fear.
Mm.
Yeah.
Constantly needing like that reassurance, overthinking everything, like worrying, like if, to your point, like if the person didn't reply like immediately, you're like, oh my God, are they with someone else? Oh my
Right.
God, like, are they going to leave me? Are they like making this like big thing in your mind? And usually what happens is that if you're in a relationship and you're that anxious attachment style, like sometimes you'll push people away without like really wanting to do that.
Totally.
It's you can't help yourself. Like you
Yeah.
just can't help yourself. And so it's becoming this like really it can become toxic in a sense, because you're not doing anyone a favor if you're being an anxious attachment person.
Yeah. It's really
And
lack of trust, right? It's lack of trust. And it is the lack of security. Like if we think about the secure attachment, it's the lack of
yeah,
security, lack of
yeah.
trust that, everything is okay, that the person isn't going to leave, that they aren't, that they do want to be with you. Like all those things. It's really just like around lack of trust.
Mm. And when we think about where it's coming from, like as a child, you probably had a really loving household. You had, parents that were loving, parents that were letting you express your emotions. It was very stable, but maybe you had parents that worked a lot. And so in your child's brain, who's not able to make that difference yet, you're like, well, my dad is giving me all that love and then he's leaving for so long, like he doesn't love me anymore. Like so you constantly feel like that love is being taken away from you. Um and it's of course it's not the case, like your parent is just going off to work, but in your brain you can't make that difference, you can't make
Mm.
that distinction that like your parents leaving for work, it has nothing to do with the love that they have for you, but as a child you just can't comprehend that they would be there for you on Sunday and spend the entire day with you and love you deeply, and then they would go off to work for an entire week out of the region, right? Like it's your
Mhm.
brain is like, oh my gosh, like they're leaving me, like they don't
Yeah.
love me.
Yeah, I also have seen it when people are, when you're growing up in an environment where you feel like you need to prove yourself, like that
Mm,
your love is conditional. And
mm,
so what happens is, you are kind of building like this stress around like obtaining love and receiving love. So it's
mm.
like, okay, like if everything lines up perfectly, then everything's going to be okay. And it's like, again, like going back to the word anxious, is that anxious attachment. So it's like everything needs to fall into place perfectly for me to receive the love. And
Yeah.
I can't have this person being mad at me. And then that means they don't love me anymore. That means they're going to leave. And so there's a lot that comes with that. And so when you are growing up in an environment where, you are feeling like, yes, it's all around your, like your worth is really tied to what you're doing for others, your productivity, how you
Mhm.
show up, are you the smart one, or all these different things that you attach yourself to. And
Yeah.
then as you grow up and you form all these different relationships, you do start to think that, like, okay, like maybe I said the wrong thing, that person is mad at me, like they are going to see that I'm not good enough and they're going to go somewhere else. Like you're building this up in your mind, so you just,
Mm.
again, it's that lack of trust that they're there for the right reasons and because of you.
Yes. Oh my God. Yes,
Mhm.
exactly. The third one is the avoidant attachment. So this is the one where, I feel like we've all had like a relationship with someone before where our friends and ourselves would say like, he's scared of commitment. Like
Right.
he did not want to commit. And usually like an avoidant attachment style is they really value their independence. They when they get too close to someone, when it gets like too real, like they're like, oh, I'm feeling trapped, like I can't breathe like in this relationship, like I need my independence, I need to be free, like they're
Yeah.
craving that freedom. And when you're starting like to have a conversation that is like, you're wanting that person to go deep and be like super emotional and be vulnerable, they're like, yuck, like
They
I'm
get
not
the ick.
there. They get the ick. This
Yeah.
is like a sign of weakness. No, I'm not sharing my, my fears and whatever with you. Like I'm not being emotional. I'm not being vulnerable. And oftentimes, like as a child, they were, they had a loving household. They were never late for school. Their parents were really involved in like their sports. They had food on the table. They had clothes to wear. It was a very structured household, but when it came to like express their emotions or
Mhm.
being vulnerable, it was like being shut off. Like
Right.
if you want to cry, go cry in the other room and come
Yeah.
back when you're done crying.
Yeah.
Don't be a crybaby. Like you're not a baby anymore, like you don't cry. So basically really like telling you in your child's brain that it's not okay to be emotional and it's
Right.
not okay to share your emotions.
Right.
So
Yeah.
interesting.
Yeah. And so, like, there's so many, I think there's so many, um, what's the word? Like, I guess avenues that you can like land on any of these attachment styles. Like
Mm,
every personality and every person's obviously their upbringing is going to be so different, and so it can be anything that triggers that as well. Like I've shared that, like growing up, like I had a lot of big emotions and a lot of people who couldn't regulate their emotions. So for
mm,
me, even though everyone was very much expressing how they felt in a very big, loud way, for me, it was like I really kind of looked at that being like, this is too much. And
mm.
I don't want to be like that. So in my mind, how I made it up is like that wasn't okay. I didn't like when people were sharing their emotions
Okay.
because it didn't feel safe for me. So for me, it was
Mhm.
like keep my emotions in. keep it at like, at a level of like 0 when everybody else was at 100. And so
Right.
for me, it was like, as I was growing up and as I was getting older, I didn't feel comfortable sharing big feelings with people because I was like, in my mind, it was just like a place that was not, like I said, it wasn't safe. It didn't feel good. And yeah, I kind of looked at it like, get it together a little bit more, like I was like,
Right.
ooh, like again, like the ick, like I was like,
Yeah.
no, I don't want that. So
Mm,
yeah, so you can get to these attachment styles by so many different, right? How you perceive it, it can be so different.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, because like, the way I'm explaining it is like based on like how your parents are making you feel. eh, And I guess that's how it happened for you, but like not you being a crybaby, not you expressing
Right.
your emotions, but by how you were perceiving it in your household. Like
That's
that
right.
made you um become that way. So that's really interesting.
Yeah.
Um, the last one is fearful avoidant attachments.
Mm,
So this is the one where you're craving a healthy relationship, you're craving intimacy with someone, but you're so scared. Like
mm,
you're wanting to get really close with someone, and once you do, you feel like you want to start running because like you're so scared of like getting your heart broken, you're scared of like getting your feelings hurt. Like it's just a very much a push and pull situation.
I think this is where we hear a lot of people saying they self-sabotage their relationships,
Mhm,
right? Because it's
mhm.
not what they want. They know they want differently,
Yeah,
but the attachment style is so strong that they cannot get out of their own way.
yeah, yeah, they have something really, really good and they know it, but
Yeah.
they just can't help themselves and like they sabotage the relationship.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so usually as a child, maybe they had a very chaotic loving relationship as an example. So maybe their parents were like together, but it was so toxic. Like he never knew,
Hmm.
are they going to love each other today or are they going to hate each other?
Right.
Maybe they had a parent that was, we talked about that, an addict, or that had that was suffering from like mental illnesses. And
Hmm.
so they never knew if today are they going to be sober? Are they going to be happy and healthy? Or are they going to be super depressive? Are they going to be drunk? It was constantly living in that fear of like not knowing what you're going to get.
Yeah. I think it's just a place of like not feeling safe. And it
Mm-hmm,
doesn't, not necessarily physically safe, but like emotionally
mm-hmm,
safe,
mm-hmm.
right? Like psychologically safe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's almost like you're constantly living in like fight or flight because
Yep.
like you're on edge constantly. Like you're waking up in the morning like tiptoeing out of your room because you're like, what am I going to get today?
Right.
Like so then when you get into a relationship, that's how you feel. Like you constantly like you want the good, you can recognize what is good and healthy, but like it scares you
Yeah.
and like you want to run because like you basically don't know how to deal with it.
Yeah.
So that's the four different types. Like if I think of me like before, I feel like I was very much the anxious attachment style. I
Mm,
was constantly like questioning like why are they with me? Like, why would they love me? Like, are they going to leave me? Like, am I going to end up alone? Like, constantly, constantly worrying, questioning, making things up in my head. Like, and I remember having a conversation about this with my therapist a few years ago, and she said, she started going into like my childhood and how I was growing up. And I was like, you know what? Like I had a very loving parents. It was super stable in my household. It
mhm.
was very consistent. And so if mom and dad, if you're listening, love you.
Good
um,
job.
but good job. But she's saying, like, did you have parents that worked a lot? And I was like, well, yeah, my dad was working quite a bit. Like he was, working all day long. He was working evenings. So sometimes like either I would not see him before going to bed,
Mm,
or I would see him for a very brief period of time. He was working mostly all Saturdays. So I was not seeing him on the weekend. Sometimes he would go for meetings, away for a few days. And my mom, who was like taking care of the household by herself when he was gone, of course she couldn't give me all the attention that I wanted. And as being an only child, like I didn't really have siblings to play with. And so in my child's brain, what was happening is I was probably like, you know what? I know my parents love me. They show me love when they're home, when they're not like cooking or gone working outside of the city. But when they're gone, it's like they must not love me because they have better stuff to do apparently than
right.
being with me. And
Yeah.
so I felt like that love was constantly like being taken away as a child. I know that was not the case in my parents' head, and that was not like, what they wanted. But as a child, I just couldn't make up that difference.
It's how you perceived it.
It's
Yeah.
how I perceived it in
Hmm.
my tiny brain. And
Hmm.
so growing up, I feel like that really followed me. And the way I was able to like work through it, and everyone out there, if you're an anxious attachment person, is like start working on yourself and really working on your self-confidence, because usually it kind of goes hand in hand. I was really not confident in myself. Like I was always constantly fearing judgment from others. I was just like constantly like people pleasing, like because I wanted to make sure that people would love me, like just basically basing my entire life's decision on external
Mm,
instead of myself. And so when I truly started working on myself, working on my confidence, building the trust that I had in myself, really getting to know like my self-worth, that all changed because I was so secure in who I was that I was like, you know what? If that person does not love me, it's their loss. I know exactly what I'm worth. I know what I'm bringing to the table. And if that person is not my person, there's someone out there that's going to value what I have to offer. And I just became very firm in who I was, and that changed my attachment style completely. So it,
yeah.
it can be worked on.
Yeah. It's like, now, like you'll always be okay, regardless of
Mhm.
those relationships. Like you are so good with yourself that
Yeah.
regardless of the relationships around you, like you're going to be okay. You know who you are, you
Mm.
know what you want. And to your point, like if something doesn't jive, if something isn't working anymore, like, that that's okay. Like that's life, or that's relationships, like things change and that is okay. Um,
Mhm.
yeah, it's interesting. I think for me, I would definitely say as an adult, like I have a secure attachment.
Mm.
I think an important part about all of this as well is really recognizing your partner's attachment style.
Yeah.
And it is kind of important to understand like if your partner is a secure attachment, and if you are somebody who, it's really, because to be honest, it's really hard to work on yourself and work through things when you are with somebody who is not working through their attachment style. If you're with somebody who is an anxious attachment, avoidant, fearful, in order for you to get to a secure place, it's really, really challenging if that person's not willing to try to get there as well.
I agree.
Because it can be very triggering.
Yeah.
Like my husband has always been a secure attachment person. Like
Mm.
he's always been just very clear in who he is. He's been able to be vulnerable. He
Mm.
has good boundaries. Like that stuff is just like he grew up in an environment that like really provided him to have that secure attachment. So
Right.
when I came along, I definitely had the avoidant attachment, like for sure. And when him and I became friends, and I realized like, wow, like this is, I want this. Like I
Mhm.
wanted to be that way so much that I was able to be like, okay, recognizing my own triggers, recognizing even at
Yeah.
a young age, like recognizing all of the things that put me in that avoidant. And I realized that like even though I was able to get into a relationship, have these really great friendships, as I got older, I realized that I was not giving the best of me because there were still pockets of myself that I was holding back, that I was not really sharing, that I wasn't feeling okay to be vulnerable. And it did take like going to therapy and doing the work because I realized too, not only am I not giving my true full self, it's really hard to feel loved fully when you
Mm,
know you're keeping things back, because you
100%.
how do you feel loved fully when you know that you're not fully giving who
Exactly.
you are, right?
Exactly.
So also like I realize like I'm gypping those other people as well, right? Like they are
Mhm.
giving everything and they trust that I'm going to give everything and I'm not, right?
Yeah.
So it was
Yeah.
something that I was like, this is worth the work for sure. And it did take me a while, because when you're an avoidant attachment and you don't feel safe in your emotions and to be like really vulnerable with people, it's really, you have to almost do it like in like trickles. Like you have to
Yeah.
like, like to build that trust, you have to be like, okay, I'm going to give
Baby
you this
steps.
much, baby steps. I'm going to give you this much and see how that goes. And then I'm going to
Yes.
give you this much. So yeah, for me, for sure, I think if I hadn't seen in my husband at a really young age what a secure attachment looked like and how healthy that was, I don't know where I would be. Like, I don't know if I would have questioned it at such an early age. Like, it might have taken me a lot
Mhm.
longer to get there. But
Yeah.
for me, it was something I just wanted in myself so much. And it's funny because, like, growing up, like when we were really young, like, when you're in like high school and like university and things like that, and you're like hearing all these crazy stories about like people being jealous and like these like dramatic fights, like that was never my husband. He's just been
Okay.
like so even keel. And like he would say to me, like, oh my gosh, I feel like the luckiest guy, like to be with you. But at the same time, there was never this like chaos of like jealousy up and down,
Yeah.
like being
Yeah.
mad at me and all that stuff. But I was seeing it around me all the time in other relationships. And so like
Wow.
obviously as I got older, I was able to recognize, like as I did more work, like what a true secure attachment was. And like, because obviously when we first got together, I didn't know what that was. I was just like, wow, he's just like a really confident person, and is just like
Yeah.
able to fully be himself, like unapologetically. But yeah, only as I got older did I realize, like, okay, that is truly what a secure attachment is. And
Mhm.
so happy that even though I didn't have the right words for it, I was able to do the work to get there myself. So it's a journey for sure, but I will say, yes, you can change your attachment style. Like you just have to
100%.
want to, first of
Yeah.
all. That's the first step, is
Yeah.
truly wanting it, and then recognizing all your triggers when it comes to your attachment style is going to be really important. And then like I said, I think surrounding yourself with people who have secure attachment is also important, to see
Yeah.
really what that looks like, and to see how that reflects back on you in your relationship. And I do
Mhm.
think it's hard that, again, if you're with somebody who is having these other attachment styles, and it's okay if they are, but they have to be wanting better for themselves as well. Like they
Yeah.
have to want to not be that way so that you guys can be in a secure relationship together.
And it's like, why would you want to stay in an attachment style that is anything other than secure? Like, it's draining. Like,
100%.
it's tiring. Like, anyways,
Yeah.
I like, it was the best thing that I could have done to do that work, because it's very freeing
Yeah.
when you no longer have these, like, this big burden on your shoulders. And
Yeah.
when I think of it now, it's like I was also being anxiously attached to my friends.
Yeah.
Like looking back, when I think of like high school and stuff, like I was so I say it now because I was able to like recognize it. Like I'm definitely like an introverted extrovert. Like I
Mhm.
love people, love, going to work, but like I need my alone time. I need
Yeah.
to recharge at home. I need to be alone. And when I was younger, like in high school, I was like that too. I just didn't really know at that time that's what it was. I
Hmm.
remember, my friends were like, let's say they were planning something like, and I was not feeling like going, but I was going anyway because I was so scared that like if I'm not going, like they're going to talk about me or
Mm.
forget about me and they're not going to invite me anymore, and just constantly having that anxiety of like almost like that fear of missing out, like
Fear of missing out, but to your point, like I think a lot of people can relate to that. It's like, okay, if I don't go, if I don't put myself out there in that way, like,
yeah,
yeah, they're not gonna like me anymore. They're gonna
yeah,
forget about me. I'm gonna like it's like your value decreases in their eyes because you're not putting yourself out
exactly.
there or being with them in that moment.
Exactly. And if I would have been securely attached, I would have been like, you know what? I'm not feeling like it today and I'm just not going to go. And
Yeah,
like trusting that, you're worthy and you have that confidence that they're going to call you next time and it's
yeah,
not going to change the relationship. But I realize now, like I really had like I had one best friend who's still like a really like she's still my best friend. Like we don't talk for like months. She lives back home, but when we do, it's like we just pick up where we left
yeah,
off. And I feel like I was like so attached to her because I was like so scared of like losing her. Like
yeah,
thank God she didn't push me away. Like love you. um,
yeah.
but like yeah, I just realize it now. Like I was not being like secure in like my friendships as
Yeah.
well.
But even to your point though, if you didn't go, like even with that best friend or your friend group, like if they didn't call you, right? Like
Mm,
if truly you didn't show up for a party or something like that and they did talk about you and they didn't call you the next week, like
yeah.
a secure attachment is being like, that's okay. That's
Yes.
okay then, because they're not my people then. Right?
Exactly.
Yeah. And
Exactly.
it's
Oh,
having that perspective that it's like the right relationships are always going to show up and the
yeah.
ones that don't, like that's okay because they're not the right ones. That is truly secure attachment, but I think it's very few people from my in my world anyways that I know who have been had a secure attachment all their life. Like
Mm,
a lot of people, like I think yes, like my husband excluded, but like I know some people for sure have been that way, and I think like what a gift to have been that way always and to
yeah.
continue to be that way. I
Yeah.
don't think that's most people's journey. I do think most people have to navigate these things. And again, like when it comes to friendships, like I still think like there's a lot of adults, like you're talking about like when you were in high school and stuff, but I think there's still a lot of adults that feel that way with their
Yeah.
friends as well. Like it's not
Mm.
just romantic relationships.
Yeah, I agree. And I think I was gonna say my husband, soon to be husband,
Gonna
my
be.
fiance is like that as well, very much secure, like no fears whatsoever, like just, living his life,
Yeah.
loving me, and I feel that he loves me. I see
Mhm.
that he loves me. He's not afraid to like express his emotion, be vulnerable, which I love. Um, but just very much grounded in like who he is, what he has to offer. And I think that was a big part of my healing, like seeing how he was and like really being like, oh my gosh, like it looks so freeing and peaceful to just
Exactly.
trust and know that things are safe and that everything's going to work out. And so that I think that really triggered like my healing as well. But
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. And I think that's the point, right? Like, I think understanding yourself, but also understanding your partner. And so, if you, like I said, like, I'm not saying if you are hearing this and you realize that like your husband has like an anxious attachment that you need to like go file for divorce. Like I think it's really just around having those conversations and like maybe they have no clue they are that way. Like, right? Like maybe they've been
Yeah,
living this way and that's what just what they know to be normal. But
yeah,
I think it's around ensuring that like that person wants to get to a better place and that they are doing the work themselves. And so it goes back to my comment before around like doing your own work is so important, right? Like
yeah,
bringing this to your partner's attention would be important, but they have to want that for themselves and they have to want to get to a better place. Because I do think, like you said, for yourself, like I do think it's really hard to do your own healing and to get to a better place when you're around triggers all the time or you're being pulled into something that doesn't feel safe or is chaotic, or if
yes,
you're constantly tending to somebody else because of their anxious attachment or because they are fearful avoidant and you're trying to overcompensate. There's a lot of
yeah,
things there that it's really hard for you to be your best self. So I think, have the conversation with your partner, see where
yeah.
they land, recognize where you are, and hopefully you can get to a secure place.
Mm, yeah, and it reminds me too, and maybe we'll end with these examples. Like I've had conversations with women before that said to me, I really want to, I don't know, start this side business, but I don't know if my partner is going to like that. Or I, yes, or I really
Oh,
want to, get into like the gym. I really want to start working out, taking care of myself, but I don't know. I feel like my partner doesn't want me to.
yeah.
I've heard that so many times, and it's like, I mean, your partner might be anxious attachment because
Mhm.
they fear that if you start that business, you're not going to have time for them. If you start the gym and you start working on yourself, you're going to change and maybe you won't love them anymore. That's all thoughts that, is probably going in their minds because
Yes.
if your partner is securely attached, they're going to be excited for you. They're going to be like, "Holy, yes, go woman. Like what can
Yes.
I do to like help you and support you?"
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or even just as simple as you do you. Like,
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
if that's what you want, that's awesome. Go do it, whatever. Like, you know what I mean? Like
Exactly.
those things shouldn't be a big deal, right? Like it should be like you want to go to the gym, like cool. Like do
Yeah.
whatever you want. You're a grown ass woman. Do what you want. And that's
Exactly.
great.
Yeah. And I think that's why, you see like when you hear about like couples that are really strong and healthy, it's like they're growing together, they're evolving together, but they're also pushing each other to be like the best version of themselves.
Yeah.
So like if when you went to Steve and you said like, you know what, like I want to do like this business, like I'm gonna do this, and he was like, yeah,
Yeah.
cool, like you do
Because there
you,
was
like,
trust, right?
right?
There's trust. There's
Yeah,
trust that he knows that, first of all, I'm going to do whatever I want because that's who I am. And I know myself and I'm going to do that. But he
yeah,
also trusts that, like, yeah, she does know who she is and she does know what she wants. And if this is what she wants, like, all good with him. You know what I mean? And like, he also just trusts in our relationship. So it
yeah,
is very, yeah, it's a very secure place to be.
yeah, like he knows that it's not because you're starting a new business and that you're probably going to change and grow as you're doing this. It doesn't mean that you're going to leave your family behind and like not love them anymore or love him,
Exactly.
like leave him. So
Exactly.
yeah, so good, so good,
Yeah,
so
I think
good.
that's lots to take away. I think definitely like reflect on your styles, reflect
Yes,
on your partner style, like reflect on like how you feel around your friends, and it's funny because once you know these styles, like you can pick them out of a crowd. Do you know what I
yeah,
mean? Like it's like I
mhm,
know all of my friends' attachment styles. I know my family's attachment styles. Like it's just
yes,
like so core to who people are. And it's not like, again, like it's not something that you have to be for the rest of your life. Like it's not
yeah,
something, it's not like a sentence, that you have to
no,
live out. And it doesn't make somebody like a bad person if you're recognizing, like, I don't want there to be any shame around it either, you know what I mean? Like, I don't
Okay.
think that, like, you need to have, when you're doing any kind of development or reflecting on any of these things, like, you have to have a lot of compassion for when you
100%.
are looking at, who you are, the people in your life, like what they are all about. Like, you need to have compassion and empathy. And so I
Mhm.
feel like really just recognizing, like, how people are, it does give you more, it makes you more empathetic to them, because it's like, okay, like, why would they be that way? Right? Like, why would somebody be anxious? Why would somebody be fearful, avoidant?
Exactly.
Like, right? And then hopefully you can be that person who helps them connect the dots and, you know, lead by example and make some positive changes.
I agree. And if you're doing that work, if you're willing to look at yourself and truly like, recognizing like, you know what, I think I'm avoidant attachment, like good for you. Like
Totally.
good for you for like being self-aware enough to like realize that and like wanting to work on that. Like
Yeah.
so admirable. Yeah.
Yeah. One thing I want to say before we close, just because somebody mentioned it in the membership last night, and I thought it was really good, is like, when you are doing the work and reading about like what your attachment style is. One of the comments was, she thought, well, I feel like I am a fearful avoidant, but it doesn't really make sense to me because everything around that seems like it it's because of some type of really intense trauma, and
Yeah.
she didn't recognize that intense trauma. She didn't feel like she qualified basically for
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
And that isn't how trauma works. Like, it could be any reason to why you are that way. Like to Renee, what she said earlier about like her parents loved her fully and were so
Yeah.
supportive, but yeah, they had to work. And so how she perceived that is like, a trauma is, they weren't there when
Yeah.
you felt like you needed them in certain times. So it's really just around how you perceive it. You don't need to, it's not like trauma with a capital T, and that's what,
Mhm.
that's what makes you fall into one category versus
Yeah.
another. So it's
Yeah.
just important to note that, like, when you're doing the work, it's, just be open mind and don't judge yourself, essentially.
Yes. Yeah. Good point.
Cool.
Really good point. Okay, good. Well, that was great. I always forget to say it, but if you listen to the episode, if it resonates with you, if you like it, send it to your friends, subscribe. You can, if you're watching this on YouTube, subscribe to our channel, like share the episode. Like we are truly grateful for all of your support. We need to get our message out there. We really want to grow. So if you want to help us in that way, please, it is free to share and to just support us in that sense. So thank you so much for being here, and we'll see you all next week.
Okay.
All right.
Bye.
Bye.